Hi everyone, my name is Brent Ellison and I'm the primary designer on Streets of Fortuna, the upcoming procedural megasim in a Constantinople-inspired fantasy city. This is the first of hopefully many videos on the game's development. For our purposes today, I'm going to assume you've already seen the game's trailer, but if you haven't, I'm sure you can find it below among Kit Fox's videos. Since you're now familiar with the basic idea of the game, my intention today is to talk about the goals of the project and the development philosophy. You're going to see some footage behind me while I talk, so I need to give the obligatory disclaimer that it's all captured from our internal builds in the editor, which means there's unfinished prototype art, UI functionality, blah, 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 blah. We're giving you a behind-the-scenes look, so, don't necessarily expect it to reflect the final product. All right, so what are we doing here? Well, our goals for Streets of Fortuna are as follows. We want to create a procedural urban center simulated beyond anything else out there that we're aware of. One that supports both picaresque adventures and a life sim style experience. And we want to do justice to the world of late antiquity as a backdrop because we think it carries some resonance even in a fictionalized form like Fortuna. We believe that this vision is one that a lot of people out there will be excited about if we can deliver on it. So, to that end, it means that we are creating a platform that we intend to update for years to come. This means it needs a stable foundation, of course, but we're also focusing on great tools because there is a lot of content to create. And along with that, the game needs strong mod support so our users can take advantage of these tools too. At the same time, of course, Fortuna needs to be a cool game. So in the Megasim tradition, we are putting a huge emphasis on player expression and user stories. The context menu, which is what appears when you right-click on any object or character in the world, will contain a huge selection of verbs for most of the objects, and you can manipulate the world as you like. Whenever we playtest the game, we always ask what the player wanted to do that they couldn't, and our goal is to deliver almost anything that you can think of that makes sense in the setting. And furthermore, we want the game to be endlessly replayable. Like Dwarf Fortress or Civilization, you should be eager to start over for a different experience. But one area that we're emphasizing that isn't commonly seen in this space is a, hopefully, intuitive interface. Our goal isn't to reduce the complexity, of course, but instead start from a UI that lets you easily see the possibilities available to you and have multiple redundant ways of performing a given action, as well as clear feedback about why an action isn't available. At the start of the game, you may not know what you need to do to succeed. That has nothing to do with the interface itself, but rather you should be able to figure out how to do something relatively easily just by messing about with the context menu or dragging items on top of each other. Now, granted, as a single avatar experience, Fortuna is inherently easier to wrangle than something like Dwarf Fortress, but it's still a lot of development effort to make sure the game is as intuitive to control as possible. So those are our development priorities, but where are we now? Well, the project has gone through a couple of different phases so far. First, there was a year-long prototyping phase where we created a hand-built, non-procedural slice of content with all the controls and core gameplay, including object manipulation, stealth, crime, NPC schedules, a whole lot of stuff. But that was prototyping, so of course code was all thrown away in favor of starting over and doing things with a better foundation. The first phase of proper development is what we called the CCC milestone, which in our case stands for Character, Controls, and Camera. In this phase, we recreated a lot of the core interaction systems and started on tooling to create the objects and locations. The NPC behavior systems were also implemented here, and there was a lot of work put into the camera. You wouldn't believe how complicated these things can get with the interiors and the perspective that we're using, the sort of isometric style. But now we're in the generation phase, where we're procedurally creating the city, its citizens, and all of the content therein. While we had a prototype to look back on for the core design, the rules of generation are all new to us, so there's a lot of discovery and back and forth to do here. But that said, it's going very well. And when this wraps up in a few months, we'll finally be moving on to the gameplay phase. Basically, at the moment, you can play around in the game world like a sandbox, but there aren't really any rewards or consequences. You can throw a picture at an NPC's head, but they won't get mad at you even as it breaks and they fall over. During the gameplay phase, that will change as we implement crime, dialogue, stealth, economy, and more, all informed by what we discovered way back in prototyping. So the gameplay phase is about implementing the things that we already know the game needs, but After that phase, it will finally be fully playable for a few hours, and therefore we can respond to the actual experience of play. We ask ourselves, what would make the game more fun? What's clearly missing? What are the most annoying elements? We'll spend some time answering those for ourselves and improving the game before finally putting it into the hands of external users for feedback. Of course, that's the plan anyway. As in all things game development, we can't say for sure if this is how it's going to go, but the signs so far are positive. Now, I hope this was an interesting insight into our process. In the future devlogs, we will go into the development of specific features and show you the latest improvements. See you then!